Yes. Well, I feel honored for being chosen as the teacher. But one thing that I had in me was the passion for for the Filipino language, Filipino culture. And that is the same passion that brought me in introducing the first Filipino class ever in the San Diego Unified School District in high school. It was started at Bell in 1988 by the late Lina Lopez de Lute. However, when they would go to the high school, and their school that they would go to would be Morse. But there was no Filipino language there. And so, the administrators were asked if they could offer. Their answer was no. They would not offer the language. So, the community, through the leadership of Philameda, went to the board, and then they asked them if Filipino would be offered. Because they went there, so there was no way by which the board would say no to a good number of community. Right? So I was at Morse High School at the time. I was teaching history, and I was asked if I could teach Filipino. I said yes. And besides, there was already that passion in me, because I came here at age 43, and I lived in the Philippines for such a long time, and I have seen until the Marcoses left the Philippines, and we have been part of it. And I have always been an activist as a student, and I have been part of the people power. Now, and as a university professor at the University of the East, I asked my students to let the government know that martial law was not a good thing for them. No, but I remember one time one student told me, "Professor Idos, don't say that. I like you as a professor, but I'm a member of the Kabataan Barangay. If I would report it to the government, the military would come here, and if the military would come here, they would invite you, and you will never be heard of."
You'll be salvaged. You'll be salvaged.
He salvaged, yes, but at least he did not say salvage. That student, and he did not appear. He did not appear to be a member, because when he appeared in class, he appeared like a bakla. But after I had spoken to the class, because somebody asked me what was happening in the Philippines, he came back to me, not as a bakla, but the real man that he was. And he said, "I am a member." And be careful, because in the community, all those who are selling their ice cream, the ones who would selling in their bilao, the selling, and everything, they all listen to what was happening in the community. That was the situation at the time. And that is also the reason why we decided to come to the United States, because we did not want our children to be under a dictatorship. All his brothers and sisters were already here, and we were being asked to come. They said no. We enjoyed doing what we were doing. He was already an administrator in the Philippines. He was teaching math. I was a professor, was teaching English and history, but because of we love the country, and we love to be to let the people know that we, the Filipinos, love democracy. So when I came here, then I thought Filipino, and then I met Ate Stella. I met because we were part of the group that group was called by the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, and we wrote the test so the teachers would be credentialed in Filipino. So because of AB 420. Now, so Ate Stella told us about that, and even before that, Tony talked to me and to Jackie about the class. And then so when Ate Stella told us about this, we did not even say, oh, let us have time to think about it. We said yes, because it is in our hearts. And look who we had as students. These are people in the community whom I have seen, and wow, they were there. In fact, I was asking him to teach. Why don't you teach the part of history? He said, no, you do it. So because I know that he was already a professor there at SDSU.
Southwestern.
Southwestern. And well, I had a good time in the class. Thank you very much, because it expressed how I feel about the country. So it expressed about ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo, because there I said, wow, so this is it. But I am an American citizen. Just because I recognize my identity does not mean that I love America less. Now, my identity is a Filipino, but my citizenship is American. So I have to know who I am. Because if I don't know who I am, it will be very difficult to function in the community if you don't know who you are.
O ano pang dadagdagan mo? What about the class?
Yes, as mentioned by Ray, I certainly feel that many Filipinos know that they are Filipinos here intellectually. In the Filipino school, our role is to touch their heart. Kailangan mayantig ang kanilang puso at damhin nila ang kanilang pagka-Pilipino.
That's right.
And so when we were asked to handle the pilot class, I said, who is going to be our students? And I was a bit surprised that a good number of them are young Filipino-American professionals, people that I know, and some of them are coming all the way from LA. And so believe it or not, it was a long one-year planning. The lesson was carefully planned for them. We used a planning framework on being a Filipino, which will answer everything as related to them. So I mentioned to them, yes, so you'll have a brief idea of what is going to happen in the Filipino school. So when we start with the first question, where am I in this trouble on being a Filipino? The answer to that is, who am I actually? And so even in that part, there were discussions of, am I a Filipino-American or an American-Filipino? Is there a difference between that? What is the meaning of kapwa as it relates to being a Filipino? So there was a lot already there. Hanapin mo sa kailaliman ng iyong puso at doon mo makikilala ang iyong buong pagkatao.
Meaning?
It was a very deep discussion actually. And so from there, where are we going? We are going to bring these students in their journey of life to a concept we call bayani. We'd like to turn them into heroes for their own motherland. These are not just Spanish students, but when they graduate, they become leaders in the Filipino community. Where are we going? And then where have we been? Bago ka nakarating dito, saan ka ba nanggaling? So that's where the history will come in. So we were delighted, among others, that when we talk about the martial law, we were only part of it. We were among the first one to go up Malacanang when Marcos left. So even that is a very interesting part. And then here, we are here, and then, but where do we tend to go? Saan ba tayo napapatungo? So these are the things that we talk a lot about. We talk about problems like the problem of disunity, the problem of things which are hindering us to be one. And then from here, we'll be going there. How do we get there? And that's where we talk about the concept of bayanihan. It is only when we're united that we can reach our goal. So we're going to emphasize that. And then how do we know, this is the last question, how do we know that we're getting there? Paano ba natin nalalaman na tayo napapatungo sa dapat nating puntahan? So, to any part of our lesson is an answer to these questions. By the way, the first one, who am I? We talked there about bayan. Our concept of bayan, if it is mentioned yet, is anywhere the Filipino is located. Kaya lahat ng mga Pilipino all over the world are part of our concept of bayan.
153 countries. We are in 153 countries of the world. And so this program will be put online, available to Filipinos in 153 countries. That book,
If I can say something, Ate Stella, your book, Florante, Flora, in here already talks about nationalism.
ang hindi mahal.
Sariling wika ay higit sa
And just a sentence or two more before I leave this. We have talking about the Filipino school, but the Filipino program has been in existence since 1988. One of the biggest problems that we feel good about it, is when we organized the second conference, Filipino as a global language. This was in 2010. This was the time when Filipinos the world over came to San Diego to discuss about the language and culture issue. And the participants there the speakers were very passionate about their causes. We learned in Saudi Arabia around there 1.2 million Filipinos there. What would happen to the Filipinos born there? Our speaker from Japan was very passionate. He said, Filipinos being born in Japan? The Japanese culture and history is very dominant. That the Filipinos there speak Japanese but not Filipino. Can you just imagine the impact of that on the self-esteem? He knows he's a Filipino, brownish skin, all of that, but does not speak Filipino but Japanese.
I just speak English.
And so the same thing, no? We're just trying to relate this in the diaspora. So this language issue, my dear friends, is something big. And the concept of Tony and onefilipino.com, that our classes will be tape recorded because for world consumption, he really thinks big, and we're all excited about it.
Right. And for your information, Filipino is referred to as the model for the less commonly taught languages.
Yeah, it's not Tagalog. Tagalog is the root,
Right.
but it is recognized as Filipino language. Because in the Filipino language, we have Spanish terms, we have English, and all that.
May you explain that one more sentence because it might be overlooked why it is called the model? Before Filipino, only the major languages are being taught. Spanish, Japanese, Italian, and all of that.
Now,
Filipino was the first one to break the market. After Filipino, followed 19 other languages. This came from Sacramento. And Vietnamese, Arabic and all that. And in all models aside, they used the template made by their committee as a model for the testing.
December 6, 2006,
2006.
when it was approved by Sacramento
Masa AB.
legislature.
AB.